let's talk about social welfare. Usually the first word that pops into your head is cost, right? And expense. But what if that's completely missing the point? What if we're looking at it all wrong? Today we're diving into this really fascinating case out of Bolivia, one that totally flips the script. It asks us to see these programs not as handouts, but as a seriously smart investment.
And yeah, this quote from our source material just nails it. The whole idea here is that these bonos sociales, that's what they call them in Bolivia, they aren't just charity. They're actual tools for building a stronger, more stable country. It's a pretty bold claim, right? So let's dig in and see how it all shakes out.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that core idea: investment, not charity. Then we'll look at exactly who this safety net helps. After that, we'll get into the really cool part, the economic ripple effect. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together to build a more stable society and, really, a better future.
All right, so first things first. This is all about a fundamental mind shift. You have to stop thinking about social programs as just a line item, a cost draining the budget. The Bolivian model says, no, this is a strategic move, an investment that we expect to pay off in real, measurable ways.
Okay, so to get a handle on this investment, you gotta ask the most basic question. Who's it for? Who is actually being helped by this social safety net?
And the answer is pretty staggering. We're talking about 3.5 million people. In a country of about 12 million, that is a huge slice of the population, nearly a third. And this isn't just random. Its support aims squarely at the people who need it most.
So how does this whole thing work? Well, it's not just one program. It's built on 4 key pillars, and each one targets a super critical moment in someone's life. You've got one bond that's all about keeping kids in school. Then there's another one for pregnant women and new moms to make sure babies get a healthy start. A third gives direct help to people with severe disabilities. And the biggest one, which we'll see, is the Renta Dignidad, basically a pension for over 1 million seniors. See? It's not just cash handouts. It's a thought-out strategic system that supports people throughout their lives.
Now, if you follow the money, you see a really clear picture of their priorities. Check this out. A whopping 81% of all the spending, it goes to just one program, the Renta Dignidad for seniors. That tells you everything you need to know about the core strategy here. It's about making sure the nation's elderly can live with dignity and stability.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about helping one person or one family. These payments kickstart a surprisingly powerful economic engine. We're talking about a ripple effect that turns these small bits of cash into massive economic waves.
The secret sauce, the magic ingredient, is this economic idea called propensity to consume. And it's simple, really. For the families getting these bonds, who are often living right on the edge, about 95% of that money gets spent instantly. We're talking food, school supplies, necessities. It doesn't get socked away in a bank. It goes right back out the door and into the local economy.
And that creates this incredible immediate chain reaction. Think about it. Step 1, a family gets their bond payment. Step 2, almost all of that cash, like we said, 95%, is spent right there in the neighborhood. Step 3, the local shop owner now has more money, right? So they can buy more supplies from local farmers and producers. And boom, step 4, the whole local economy gets a little jolt of energy. So this beautiful, virtuous cycle that keeps money moving and supports local jobs.
Okay, so what happens when you take that little cycle and you multiply it by millions of people month after month? Well, the payoff is huge. Economists have crunched the numbers, and they estimate that when you add up all those little ripples, these bonds create a 3.2% boost to Bolivia's entire GDP. Let that sink in. This isn't a cost, it's an engine for growth.
But the story doesn't end with economics. The returns go way beyond the balance sheet. These programs are a direct investment in something just as valuable: social stability.
And here's the kicker, the part that makes this whole model so powerful. The total cost for all of these high-impact programs, it's less than 2% of Bolivia's GDP. Just think about that for a second. You invest less than 2%, and you get an economic return of over 3%.
I mean, that is just an unbelievably efficient way to use public money.
And you can really see how efficient this is when you put it side by side with something like a general fuel subsidy. Those broad subsidies, they often end up helping wealthier people more because they use more fuel. They're super expensive and not very good at actually fighting poverty. These bonds, though, they're the exact opposite. They are laser-focused, cheap to run, and they put money directly into the hands of people who need it most. You get way more bang for your buck.
What you get is stability, built from the ground up. When people see and feel that the government is actually investing in them, in their well-being, that builds trust. It creates social cohesion. You're easing the extreme pressures of poverty, which in turn cools down social tensions that could otherwise boil over into conflict. So at the end of the day, this isn't just a welfare program. It's a foundational investment in having a peaceful, stable, and governable country. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, looking at this whole system as a direct investment in the future through what we call human development. And you can literally trace the long-term returns. The Bono Juancito Pinto for kids, that means fewer school dropouts and a more educated workforce down the line. The Bono Wana Azardui for mothers and babies, that means better health for the next generation. Even the Rented Dignidad for seniors, it's about building a society that values its elders. It's all about planting seeds today for a more prosperous and stable tomorrow. Which really brings us full circle back to that powerful idea from our source material. This isn't just about spreadsheets and economic models. It's fundamentally an investment in dignity, an investment in equity, and an investment in the future.
So that leaves us with one big final question to chew on. The Bolivian model seems to show that investing directly in people, especially the most vulnerable, isn't just a nice thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. It can actually drive economic growth and create a more stable society. So the question is, if it works there, what could a model like this mean for the rest of the world?